Welcome to the final session, session 7. You've been through 6 exposure sessions to get here. Text, illustrations, photographs, audio, observer angle video, and direct gaze. Each one built on the last, and you've stayed with all of them. This session sits at the top of the ladder. We're going to the place social anxiety has been warning you about the whole time, the worst case scenario. SUDS check before we begin. Rate your SUDS, 0 to 10 right now. What the worst case actually is. I want to talk about the worst case for a moment before we get into the content. Social anxiety is fundamentally a fear of what will happen if things go wrong socially. If you say something awkward, if you stumble over your words, if the group doesn't respond well, if someone rejects you, dismisses you, or laughs at you. The anxiety maintains itself by predicting these outcomes in vivid detail and treating those predictions as certainty. And because the anxiety also drives avoidance, you avoid the situations. The predictions never get tested. The worst case remains perfectly intact, unexamined, getting more powerful in the background. In this session, we're going to watch the worst case play out. Not to you, to someone else in staged scenes. But your threat system doesn't require you to be the person in the scene to activate. It reads social danger on your behalf. Here's what I want you to hold on to as we go through this. The worst case scenario happening is survivable. That's what these scenes are going to show you. Not that the worst case never happens, but that when it does, it ends. The person is still there. The world keeps going. The catastrophe turns out to be smaller than the anxiety predicted. Let's begin.
So for Q3, our main risk is regulatory delay. Sorry. Where was I? Right, okay.
Someone mid-sentence, stumbling. The pause. The colleagues waiting. The silence. Watch what happens after. The person recovers. The meeting continues. They're still there. Your anxiety predicted this moment and labelled it catastrophic. Watch it happen and watch it end. Notice what your body did during that scene. Notice the impulse to wince, to look away, to fast forward past the uncomfortable moment. That impulse is the same one that drives avoidance in real life. Stay with it instead.
So for Q3, our main risk is regulatory delay. Sorry. Where was I? Right, okay. The mitigation strategy is to diversify. We need proactive mitigation.
Agreed. What about the FDA?
Competitor pressure is increasing. Exactly. We'll address that next.
That specific moment, approaching a group and having them not make space. The brief social non-welcome. The person in this scene experiences that moment. Let yourself feel what it activates for you, the anticipatory recognition of that scenario. And then watch. They step back. They move on. They're okay. They still exist. Nobody crumbled. This is the core of what this session is doing. Your anxiety has been predicting that these moments are catastrophic, that they represent something permanent, something devastating, something that reveals fundamental truth about your unworthiness. Watch them happen and notice that they're not catastrophic. They're uncomfortable, they're unwanted, but they're survivable. The person in these scenes is still intact afterward. Your midbrain needs to experience this, not to hear it explained, but to see it and feel the activation settle.
So, why did the coffee file a police report? It got mugged.
The joke that doesn't land. The story that nobody picks up.
So, what about that party last weekend?
Oh yeah, with the karaoke?
The silence
So
that
fun.
follows.
I know, right? We should go again. Definitely, I'm in.
One of the most feared moments for social anxiety. Stay with it. Watch the silence settle. Watch it pass. Watch the room move on.
So, what about that party last weekend?
Oh yeah, with the karaoke?
That was so fun. I know, right? We should go again. Definitely, I'm in.
You, sorry.
A visible mistake. People nearby noticing.
Look, a spill. Happens to everyone.
The brief attention of strangers, and then it passes. People look away. The moment ends. It wasn't permanent. It wasn't catastrophic. It was just a moment.
Sorry.
Look, a spill. Happens to everyone.
This one tends to hit differently from the others. Not an acute moment of embarrassment, a prolonged, quiet experience of being in a room that isn't quite letting you in. Stay with it. Notice the story your anxiety tells about what this means. And then watch. The person takes a breath. They scan the room. They prepare to move towards someone they recognize. The moment hasn't defeated them.
Actually, I think we should focus on the core features first.
I suggest we pivot to the Agile framework for better scalability.
Let's stick with the current plan and optimize it.
The contribution that gets passed over. Someone speaking, offering something, and the group pivoting almost immediately to a different idea. Notice what your anxiety does with this scene. Does it interpret the dismissal as evidence? Evidence of what? Stay with it. That's all the content. Rate your SUDS now, 0 to 10. Where did you land? Compare it to your starting SUDS for this session and compare it to your end SUDS the first time you ran this session. What you just watched. You watched social anxiety's worst case scenarios play out, not avoided, witnessed. Stumbling over words, not being welcomed into a group, a joke falling flat, a visible mistake, being alone in a room full of people, being passed over. These are the scenarios your anxiety has been treating as existential threats, and you just watch them happen and watch the person survive each one. That's not a small thing. The exposure ladder for social anxiety ends here, at the very thing that's been driving the fear, and you stayed for it. What to do from here? This series isn't a replacement for real-world exposure work. It's a foundation for it. What you've been doing in these 7 sessions is reducing the intensity of your anxiety response to social threat cues, building tolerance, lowering the peak, shortening the recovery time. The next step is to take that reduced baseline to actual social situations and to use the same principle that's been running through this whole series. Feel the discomfort and stay anyway so you can disprove the danger. If you've been working through this series and finding it helpful, the next step I'd point you towards is building your own personalized exposure ladder, graded real-world situations, structured around your specific fears, designed to test your specific predictions. I have a video on the channel that walks through exactly how to do that, the exposure ladder for social anxiety. That's where to go next. And if you want support going through this process with a specialist, there's a link below to work with me either online or in person, and the approach is exactly what you've been doing here: systematic, evidence-based, and graded. You've gotten through 7 sessions of real exposure work. You're amazing. Don't you forget it. I'll see you in the next video.